welcome to DxO. My name's Don, and just like it says on the box, we're going to process some images using DxO Photolab 5. So I'm working on a photo a day project through 2022, and going to try to do as many of them as I can into short videos just to show you how I'm going about processing them. So this, for anybody that, for the 5 to 7 people that saw it, this is actually take 2 of this particular one. I put up a video yesterday of this edit, and it just didn't translate well. I think I left it quite dark, and my screen here could pull that off, but when I was looking at it online, it just looked too dark. So I decided to just redo it and just bring the overall sort of levels up a bit on that. Have something that translates a little bit better to the web. So without further ado, as all the YouTubers seem to say, let me jump straight in and start to process this image. So you can see the image on the screen here, and this is sort of the original state, and I'll just click back one here. Let me just... So, and that's where I edited it. That's hard enough to say. Yesterday. Again, on my screen, it is very dark, but passable. And here's where I'm headed today. So I've just brightened it up quite a bit of a different look here, but I think this will translate better. So let me go ahead and jump in and show you how I got to here. So I'm just going to come back to this one. These are all just variants of the same image file, so with different settings on them. And this particular one that I've just clicked on there is reset to starting point. So click on over to customize, and I'll just pull that out of the way, give a little bit more space. I'm going to leave this one open just because I sometimes like to be able to see the histogram as I'm going along. So here we go. So across here we've got some tabs. I'm going to start out with the color tab, and I'm going to just think about the rendering of this. And in DxO Photolab there are, well, I've got Film Pack installed as well, so there are even more choices, but lots of choices as to how it renders. This, by default, it's going to be the camera as they've measured the camera, so they create a default rendering for it. But I'm going to come in here. I've been really enjoying this. Digital Films is a new one, and it's almost like a new toy, but I've been enjoying it. And essentially, it's a DxO take on some of the Fuji colors. So this one's Fuji Astia. So that's fine. I'll pick that as that, and I'm going to do that. I did that first because I find some of these film simulations are a bit darker, so it just saves me a moment when I go to do exposure. I can sort of try to compensate for that amount of darker straight away. So with that done, I'll pop up here to the exposure space. Just going to do a basic exposure compensation first of all. And I'll probably go about, I'm going to try 1.3. Yep, I even go 1.5. Let's see. Yeah, nice. So we'll leave that there, but I'm going to add some more exposure to this, but I'm going to do it with DxO Smart Lighting, which is, it's going to just sort of stretch the histogram out a little bit. It can be easily overdone, but I think in this case it'll work well. I might not leave it straight at, I've used this light setting, but I'm going to actually dial that back a little bit, so I don't want it to be too much, but we'll maybe try there for a start and see how we go. So, alright, so that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to just pop down here. I'm going to skip selective tone. I'm going to skip clear view and come down to contrast. By default, contrast wants to put on an automatic amount of micro contrast, which gives the appearance of extra sharpness, but for this image, I'd actually like this one a little bit softer, and I don't want that extra sharpness, so I'm going to just go ahead and actually give myself maybe even a -10, just to take a little bit of that intensity away. But I will give it some overall sort of global contrast, just a little bit. See how we're going there. Let's turn that off and on. Very subtle. I might give it a touch more. See how that goes. Yeah, nice. Cool. All right. Now, the tone curve I'm going to skip for now. We've got vignetting down here, which is sort of automatically applied based on the lens profile. I'm not going to bother touching that right now. Back here to the color tab. Anything else I want to do at this point? There's one thing that I want to do. I noticed that when the camera, it was just on auto white balance, and the camera was no doubt trying to neutralize things a little bit. So it's got it on about 6,000, which is probably reasonable for that. But then it's got -17 here, so I actually do want to just add a bit more of that magenta. Maybe not too much, but a bit of it. Essentially just reduce that, let a little bit of the magenta sort of flow through that, because I think it's quite accurate to what it was like. Now I'm going to stop with these types of settings for now, and I'm going to jump over to a couple of local settings that I'd like to do. So first of all, so coming in here, this is currently the brush. I'm just going to right click so I can see my different tools. And I'm going to go to this control point first of all. So this is the circular classic control point. When I stick it in a spot like that, it's going to look at the color and the luminosity values and sort of automatically make a bit of a mask there based on those things. And I'm not too fussed about this particular mask being super accurate, because essentially what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of light to that midground, just to pull the eye. That might be a touch too much. I've got to be careful with that. Pull the eye in a little bit towards that center. So just that, just lightening that space up a hair. Yep, I think I like that. And the other thing that I want to do is to just darken that sky back down, because of course I've just lifted the sky by a stop and a half at least. So I want to knock a bit of that back so there's not so much difference between the two. Now I'm going to just right click again and choose new mask. So because if I didn't, essentially the next thing I did would have the same settings as that control point I've just done. So I'll do a new mask, right click again, and I'm going to grab this control line. Once I have that, I'll just click on it. It's just, looks very much like a sort of a gradient situation, and it kind of is in that it will affect anything on this side, depending on how you mask it, but then once you get past here, it won't touch that at all, so it kind of omits that stuff. So I want this to be on the clouds. And at any time I can come down here and show a mask and see what it's picking or not picking. I can see that it's actually grabbing quite a bit of these hills as well, not grabbing this on the spot, but this hill in particular is almost completely selected as well. So there's I could work on that, but I'm not going to at this point. I'm actually going to pull down my exposure, and then I'll just see how I feel about it. Let's see. Where am I headed with that? Maybe might be a touch too much. Let's leave it there for a second. Yeah, I think that's. Let me just see a little bit of a before and after. Yeah, I think that's looking nice. Now, one thing I do notice especially is that it's darkening. If you look at the hill over here, it is darkening that hill quite a bit as well. And I actually would like to take a little bit of that away. So I'm just going to sort of eyeball the effect. So I've come over here to my local adjustments where I can still change my mask sensitivity. And I'll just see about lightening up some of that hill there. Just going to up these a touch, just because I think that's nice given the distance. I don't. It feels like it adds to the depth a little bit to me. There we go. Nice. So that's looking good. Let me think for a moment how I'm feeling about this. I think one of the things that I'm going to do is come back here now to my tone curve, and I'm just going to see, I'm going to grab, this is essentially going to impact my whites, so you can see there's a fair bit of space over here. Just want to see what we get if I kind of bring that up there a bit like that. Maybe not too much. What are we on? 240. Yeah, maybe around there. And I'll just see. I don't actually want to crunch blacks up, but I'm just going to see what we get with a little smidge of that. Nice. I'm also going to just have a peek. I'm going to raise just a little around this midsection. Just a hair. Turn that off, turn that on. Yeah, I think that's giving that a nice lift. I'm just going to close my local adjustments. I'm just going to zoom in here. And I want to see the impact of that tone on the... Yeah, actually that's fine. That doesn't bother me at all. Nice. Excellent. Now, with that, I think I'm just about there. I'm going to have a quick peek at my cropping. I can't recall if I reset the cropping on this one, but it does look like I did. Now, I know one of the things I was thinking about with the cropping here, I'm just going to come down and change this to unconstrained. And I just want to pull that actually down a little, take a little bit of that sky out of there. Maybe bring that in just a smidgen over here. Nice. Excellent. So I think we will call that the renewed edit. Now, just out of curiosity, let's see how close I came to. I always find that interesting. You know, if you do it at two different times, how close you come to one another. It's a tricky business to get them exactly the same. So we got. Oops. Get the information out of the way. Yep. Pretty darn close. Nice. Obviously, that crop is just a hair different. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. I think that the final product is definitely better than my first run through. I think it still has some of that sort of darker late day mood, but I think it'll translate a lot better to the video. So hope that's been entertaining and or informative, and hope to see you again. Cheers.